Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 30th, 2017 County Board of Supervisors meeting. Supervisor Montgomery will not be joining us. She's spending some time with her family today and this week. We will begin our meeting with a flag salute led by our County Council, Gerald Carter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll begin with the approval of the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda have been recommended for approval by the County Executive Department. All items will be approved by a single roll call vote. Anyone may ask to address consent items prior to the board taking action, and the item may be pulled for discussion. Do board members have any items we wish to be pulled?
I need to have 14A pulled.
14A? Okay. I'm looking. Page 8. Page 8. Okay. Anything else? Any from the audience wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? It's been moved and seconded to approve the remainder of the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll go to Oh, it's a roll call. We need a roll call. Yeah, we do. Well, okay. Roll call, please. Sorry.
Euler. Duran. Wygant. Holmes.
Yes, thank you. Now is the time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience. What?
Robert, do you want to speak to 14A?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Request to pull that one.
Okay.
So I do financial consulting for the Sierra Business Council, and I'll be recusing myself from this item. So if someone would let me know when I'd be happy to come back to the meeting if someone will tell me when we're all done with that.
I'll let Kirk handle
Don't go far. I move approval 14A. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve 14A. This is a Sierra Planning Organization Joint Powers Agency dissolution item. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none? Oh, you're back.
He was not entirely. That's a different threshold.
Okay. Now we'll move to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board on any item on the agenda under public comment? Any item that's not on the agenda under public comment? If you do, you come forward, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes to speak to the board. Hearing none, I'll close public comment, and we'll move to our first department.
There's public comment in Tahoe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The agenda item. It's an agenda item.
Oh, it's for agenda item, sorry.
Pardon?
It's for an agenda item, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for reminding me you're there. For those that you don't know, we have a video feed to Tahoe City, and they're sitting in the audience waiting for their item to come forward. Thank you for reminding me. So now we're going to move to department item 5A, countywide temporary staffing services.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Brett Wood. I'm your purchasing manager, and I'm here today to request your board's approval of a competitive request for proposal number 10621 for countywide temporary staffing services to be awarded to SearchPro Staffing of Citrus Heights, California in the maximum amount of $1.5 million for the time period of July 1st through December 31st of 2018. I'm also requesting at this time your board's approval to renew that contract on an annual basis for $1 million for 2 one-year periods, subject to department concurrence and available funding. As a matter of history for this one and a little bit of explanation, many county departments have a need for temporary staffing services where we use these for periods of unusually high workload intermittent employee absences, or to complete a specific short-term project. These are typically people that are in the position of an administrative clerk journey, an accounting clerk journey, also for the elections department, the elections warehouse worker, and elections technicians. We developed an RFP to solicit competitive proposals for these services. That was distributed through our online service to 74 firms. We actually had an additional 20 firms access that document, and 9 firms actually responded. This is an extremely high response rate for us, so we were quite pleased with that. We had 9 total firms that responded. We reviewed those proposals with an evaluation panel that included representatives from Human Resources, Health and Human Services, Child Support Services, and the Elections Department. Following that review, the panel made a recommendation to move forward with the top-ranked firm, which was Search Pro Staffing. We made that information available to all the firms that had responded. We did receive a protest from one firm. They were unhappy with our recommendation, and they submitted a protest to the Director of Administrative Services. That protest was reviewed both by the Director of Administrative Services and by County Council, was deemed to be without merit and denied. At this time, we're standing with our recommendation to move forward with Search Pro Staffing, and we're happy to answer any questions that your board may have.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions?
Yeah, Jerry, can you explain the whole situation with the background checks?
Yeah, we're confident that the allegations made in the letter from HR management are without merit. You have to be a public entity to receive those DOJ results, and we're confident that Search Pro did not violate the law in obtaining those results.
Does it change the RFP any that we have to receive those? Does that have any effect on the RFP?
Well, I was talking to procurement before the meeting, and it appears that when HR management got the contract, they attempted to comply with that contract term and discovered that you have to be a public entity to receive those documents, so it was removed from the contract, and it was not part of the RFP.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone in the audience wish to address this item before we take action? Seeing none, we'll bring it back for action. It's moved and seconded to approve administrative service procurement item. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
And I think we're close enough to 9:10 to do our 9:10 timed item. This is a proclamation recognizing June 2017 as Lake Tahoe Basin Wildfire Awareness Month. I see Beth Kenna is here and the fire chief from North Tahoe. If you want to step forward, I will quickly read this proclamation. In the matter of a proclamation recognizing June 2017 as a Lake Tahoe Basin Wildfire Awareness Month, think first, keep Tahoe safe. Whereas wildfire is a serious threat to Lake Tahoe's environmental, social, and economic well-being, and whereas visitors and residents of fire-prone communities at Lake Tahoe must take responsibility for living and recreating in high fire hazard areas. And whereas June 17 is Wildfire Awareness Month and marks the 10-year anniversary of the Angora fire. And whereas people living and recreating at Lake Tahoe must take important precautions to help prevent wildfire ignitions. And whereas residents and property owners at Lake Tahoe must create defensible space and take other important steps to create fire-adapted communities and prepare in advance for Lake Tahoe's next wildfire. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors duly passed this proclamation on the 30th day of May in 2017. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Mike Schwartz, Fire Chief for North Fire and Meeks Bay. I just wanted to thank you for your leadership in wildfire awareness. June is an important month, and we'll spend a lot of time. The Think First campaign is developed by the Tahoe Forest and Fuels teams. It's a common message through 2 states, all the counties, and our federal partners as well. In addition to the Angora fire, those of you who've been around long enough probably remember the Washoe fire, which was in North Tahoe Fires District the same year as Angora. It gets overshadowed by its big sister Angora because of so many homes that were lost during that time. But for the local residents in the Tahoe area, the Washoe fire was a significant event. And hopefully that we've made some changes from the Blue Ribbon recommendations after the Angora. But your leadership to help us, the public awareness piece, we really appreciate. We are doing a barbecue on June 10th, and I'll let Beth mention that, and some other events are coming up, but I just wanted to thank you, supervisors.
Thank you.
I'll mention a couple of yours.
Right. So June 10th, we have a multi-agency barbecue. We'll have CAL FIRE, Forest Service, our local neighbors, Placer County, Green Waste Disposal, representation, and lots of different agencies at our barbecue. So we want to welcome everybody to that. And there are also a lot of events going on around the basin. And the list of events is on the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team website, so you can check them out there.
And if someone wanted to attend the barbecue, where is it held and at what time?
The barbecue is 11 to 3, and it's on June 10th, and it's across the street from Station 51 in Tahoe City. The address is 221 Fairway Drive.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's a nice
And there'll be
station.
games for kids and lots of information and
Right.
fun stuff.
Great.
So.
Is there anyone in the audience in Auburn wish to address us on this item? Anyone in the Tahoe region? Seeing none, I'll bring this down and present it to you.
Oh, he's got it. Hey, Beth. Come on up. She's in all the work.
He gets to be in the middle. Yeah, Rose.
Well, thank you. Got it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Supervisor, thank you very much. Thank you.
All righty, I think we'll go ahead and move to the 9:15 timed item, Public Works and Facilities. This is a Granite Bay Capital Improvement Program, update to transportation and circulation element of the Granite Bay Community Plan.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. My name is Ken Grimm with the Department of Public Works and Facilities. Today, we're asking you for 3 actions. One is to direct staff to pursue an update to the transportation element of the Granite Bay Community Plan at an estimated cost of $600,000. Second, we're asking you to modify the Granite Bay Capital Improvement Program to reflect increased cost and the inclusion of this effort to update the transportation element into the program. With that would be a corresponding increase in the traffic impact fee of approximately 3.9%. Thirdly, we're asking you to authorize the director to execute a contract for environmental services for an amount not to exceed $300,000. And so we have several comments and issues that have come up in recent years in the Granite Bay area. I think there's 3 of them again. One is that we've had more traffic than predicted, even though we haven't had all the same level of development that we've anticipated. I think we're going to find that that's probably got to do with, we've got some job centers being created in Folsom and Roseville, creating Granite Bay right in the middle of that. But we're going to find out. That is a question that's come up. We need to find out how are we going to deal with that. Secondly, we received a letter and analysis from an engineer and attorney suggesting that we need to update the community plan. And after almost 20 years, 15, 16 years, it is time to update that, find out how are we going to make this relevant moving forward for the next decade. And then thirdly, we have the legislature has approved SB 743. What that has done we are now no longer, or soon, going to no longer be able to use level of service as a criteria for CEQA transportation impacts. We're going to have to move to vehicle miles traveled. So that's going to change how we do things. We don't know exactly what that means today, but we anticipate that coming up in the next year, and we're going to start addressing that question as part of this update. To fund the update, we recommend that it be funded jointly through the Traffic and Transportation Impact Fee Program, and that also the community and support area of the CEO's budget. 50/50. To utilize the traffic impact fee funds, we are requesting your board to amend the CIP to include this project into the CIP so it can help pay for it, and all future development is contributing to that and helping to pay for the update. The estimated fee is, right today, is $6,341 per unit. It's proposed to go to $6,588 per unit. That's a 3.9% increase, or approximately. Finally, we're requesting your board to authorize the Director of Public Works and Facilities to execute a contract for environmental services to update that circulation element in an amount not to exceed $300,000. There's a difference. I said the estimated cost is $600,000. The estimated this contract would be $300,000. The difference is really in the traffic study that's going to be required to perform all of this. We are working with others to determine what the scope of that work is. We will do that in the upcoming month so that we can proceed forward and talk with the community about what we're proposing and how we're going to address these issues moving into the future. So with that, we're asking you again to, one, direct us to update the transportation and circulation element of the Granite Bay Community Plan. We're asking you to amend the CIP and increase the fee accordingly. And then thirdly, we're asking you to authorize the Director of Public Works and Facilities to execute a contract for environmental services to perform that update. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Supervisor Duran.
Yes, Ken, how much do we have in the traffic mitigation account?
In that fee, actually, the Granite Bay probably has close to $1 million. I'm not sure exact number, but it is important to note that one's actually in a negative situation right now. There are some loans outstanding associated with the Auburn-Folsom widening project, so it will have to pay that back over time, but there is cash available right now to do the study.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members before I open up the public hearing? All righty. This is a public hearing. Anyone wish to address the board on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for action. It's been moved and seconded to approve item 2, Public Works and Facilities Granite Bay Capital Improvement Program update. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, thank you. The item is moved. We'll now go to a department item. Item number 6, Health and Human Services, Short-Term Crisis Residential Treatment Services, YOLO Community Care Continuum. Amy, hello.
Yes, good morning. Chair Holmes and members of the board, I'm Amy Ellis, the brand new Director of Adult System of Care. This morning I'm bringing forward an amendment and renewal of a contract with YOLO Community Care Continuum, who operates a residential short-term crisis program co-located at our Roseville facility at Kirby Hills. This item requests 2 actions. 1, to approve an amendment with YCCC for the provision of crisis residential services to increase our contract amount by $150,000, and to authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign that amendment, and to approve a new 2-year agreement with YCCC for the provision of crisis residential services moving forward for a total contract amount not to exceed $2,777,146, and authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign any amendment and subsequent amendments not to exceed 5% of the total contract amount. This short-term crisis residential treatment program, it's a critical part of our mental health continuum. They provide an alternative to very expensive and more restrictive inpatient hospitalization for those who are in crisis and are requiring 24-hour observation and treatment. YCCC has successfully been providing these services since June 2015 as a result of an RFP. Short-term crisis stabilization is cost-effective, voluntary, recovery-focused, and outcome-driven. The contract amendment increases the capacity to serve from 9 to 12 beds, meeting a service demand and diverting more individuals from costly hospitalizations. In fiscal year 15-16, our crisis residential served 149 clients. By the end of fiscal year 16-17, this contract is expected to serve 300 Placer residents. The fiscal year 15-17 contract amendment increase of $150,000 is funded with $76,500 or 51% of federal and state dollars and $73,500 or 49% of county general funds in fiscal year 16-17 budget. These funds are available to us as a result of inpatient utilization savings. The fiscal year 17-19 agreement includes $1,388,573 for fiscal year 17-18 and $1,388,573 for fiscal year 18-19. Annually, funding consists of $708,172, or 51%, in federal and state revenues, and $680,401, or 49%, in county general funds. For fiscal year 17-18, this is included in the requested budget, and in 18-19, it will be included in the requested budget. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval of both action items.
Any questions for the new Director of Adult System of Care? Doing a good job, no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone in the, wait, I'm not done.
Oh.
Anyone in the audience wish to address the board on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a motion and approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the item. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none. Thank you, Amy. We'll now move to item 6B, Specialty Mental Health Substance Use Disorder Services. Twyla.
Good morning. I chair Holmes today, and board members, Mr. Bosch, Mr. Carden, Twyla Abrahamson, Director of the Children's System of Care, and I'm actually presenting this item on behalf of the Children's System and Adult System of Care. So Placer County has a regulatory responsibility to complete evaluations of services provided through the use of Mental Health Services Act funds. These are also Prop 63 known as. This evaluation is required by the Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission, the California Department of Healthcare Services, the California Department of Social Services. Dr. Nancy Callahan is an experienced consultant and is considered a subject matter expert who provides technical assistance and consultation regarding the evaluation of Mental Health Services Act, especially mental health services and substance use disorder services. Dr. Callahan has agreed to continue providing these valuable services to Placer County, as well as taking on new evaluation processes, such as the one today, which is the subject of this amendment. Additional grant funding has been approved from the Justice Assistance Grant Steering Committee and the MHSA Steering Committee to include the newly approved MHSA Innovations Plan. We're recommending that we amend the current agreement with Dr. Callahan to increase compensation to cover the additional evaluation responsibilities. So we're requesting that the board take the following action. Approve the first amendment to the agreement with Nancy M. Callahan, DBA, doing business as IDEA Consulting, for fiscal year 2016-17 to increase the amount by $77,884 for a new contract total in the amount of $477,884, and authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign the amendment and any subsequent amendments not to exceed 10% of the total contract amount. These are all state funds. No county general funds are required and are included in the fiscal year 16-17 final budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your consideration.
Any questions for Ms. Abramson? Seeing none, anyone in the audience wish to address the board on this item? Anyone in Tahoe? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. It's been moved and seconded to approve item 6B, Specialty Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Services. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? The item is moved. I think we have time to go to item 6C, Therapeutic Behavioral Support and Specialty Mental Health Services.
Twyla Abrahamson again, but presenting for the Children's System of Care. So in order to best meet the needs of Placer County's youth who experience severe and serious mental health challenges and keep them in their families and communities, the Children's System of Care and its partners deliver a combination of intensive in-home counseling, crisis stabilization, and mental health services to children and families. One element of this approach includes state-mandated specialty in-home crisis stabilization services designed to prevent youth from entering inpatient hospitals or other institutional settings. These are often difficult to access and are, on average, more than 5 times as costly. Under this agreement, up to 140 children each year with significant mental health challenges will receive this effective and cost-saving service and avoid out-of-home and hospital care. We are requesting the board take the following action. Approve a contract with Uplift Family Services in the amount of $1,635,664 for therapeutic behavioral support and specialty mental health services for the period of July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2019. This two-year contract is funded with $1,441,164 in state and federal funds and $194,500 in required general fund match. And the funds are included in the fiscal year 2017-18 requested budget and the department's 2018 and 19 requested budget. We would further request that you also authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign amendments not to exceed 10% of the total contract amount, consistent with the subject matter and scope of work with risk management and county council concurrence. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this item as well, and thank you for your consideration.
Any questions? Supervisor Euler.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, where is Uplift Family Services headquartered?
They actually have offices in the Rockland area to serve us, and then they also have a counselor, a clinician actually, that's based in Tahoe as well.
Okay, so response time's not an issue?
Correct, it's not.
This is the kind of thing, how does somebody get dispatched for to meet this need for this in-home? This is not an urgent need, this is something that's actually scheduled?
It's generally scheduled, but it's for more serious concerns. So the therapeutic behavioral service component of it, it's a state mandated service that was part of a settlement agreement, if you recall, Emily Q from a long time ago now, but we're still required to do it. But it's not like a mobile crisis team, but it's as close as we can get. They'll go out like the following day and try to do some stabilization with the family, with the child, and they can stay in there for a period of time. And they generally, it's a little bit different than outpatient. Outpatient might be an hour or 2 or 3 hours a week. They can stay in for multiple hours during the day. They can go to the school setting and help if there's any sort of school-related issues. They can do those sort of things.
Okay. And it is specifying that this is in our children's system of care. Is it simply up to the age of 18 that the service is available, or does it go beyond that?
It goes up to the age of 21. The early periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment, which is the EPSDT funding from the state, those can cover up to the age of 21.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Anyone in the audience wish to address this item? Anyone in Tahoe? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to board for action. It's moved and seconded to approve item 6C. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Twyla. We'll now move to our 9:30 timed item, which is Public Works and Facilities, Granite Bay Parks, Trails, and Open Space Assessment District. Mr. Fisher.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Andy Fisher with your Placer County Parks Division. The item before you today is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution confirming the boundary diagram and assessment and ordering levy of assessments for fiscal year 17-18 for the Granite Bay Parks, Trails, and Open Space Assessment District. The Granite Bay L&L, or Lighting and Assessment District, was approved by the voters of Granite Bay in November of 2001. It includes just about 8,000 parcels and is generally, the boundary is generally coincident with the Granite Bay Community Plan with a little additional area to the north of that area. That Lighting and Landscape District, those assessments pay for 8 public parks, include Granite Bay Community Park, Douglas Ranch Park, Franklin School Park, Miners Ravine Nature Reserve, Ronald L. Feist Park, Sterling Point Park, Tree Lake Park, and Tree Lake Terrace Park, as well as 30 miles of multi-purpose trails. Those are the dirt surface trails, and 20 miles of paved bikeways. The Lighting and Landscape District allows for a cost of living increase up to 3% per year. That's based on the Bay Area Consumer Price Index. And it happens that in this year, that index exceeded 3% slightly, so we do request an increase of 3%, that cap. If it's approved, the increase would result in an additional $2.38 per year per paying parcel. The new assessment would be $81.64 per benefit unit. That generates a total budget for all those facilities to maintain and operate of $747,086. 90% of that is generated through these assessments, with an additional 10% provided, general benefit provided from general funds, fees, and interest on investments, makes up that entire budget. This, before you today, this action item is the third in a three-part process to enact the assessment for 2017-18. The first part of that action happened on February 7th through Resolution 2017-030 that directed the preparation of an engineering report that undergirds this assessment every year. On April 24th, you passed by resolution of intent to levy the adjusted assessment for 2017-18, and you approved that engineer's report. Today's hearing is the third and final step to enact that assessment for fiscal year 17-18, and being a hearing, I will turn it over to your board. Thank you.
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address this? Is this a public hearing? Yeah. It's a public hearing. I'll have to open up a public hearing. Anyone in the audience or in Tahoe that wishes to address the board on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to board for action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 9:30 timed item regarding Granite Bay Parks, Trails, and Open Space Assessment District. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item is moved. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. We'll now move to item 6. Let's see, where are we here? The Tahoe Regional Capital Improvement, no, that's
6D.
6D. 6D. Where am I here?
Top of page 4.
Okay, there we go. I got confused here. Child care services for CalWorks Welfare to Work participants.
Good morning, board members. My name is Greg Geisler, and I'm the program manager for the CalWorks and Employment Services Program. Here this morning to request that you approve a contract with the Placer County Office of Education for child care services for CalWorks, California Work Opportunity and Responsibility for Kids Welfare to Work program for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, an amount of $2,215,000 with no net county costs, and authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign the contract and subsequent amendments up to 5% of the total contract amount. The background on our contract: we have contracted with Placer County Office of Education since the inception of CalWorks in 1998. This is considered Stage 1 child care. They also administer the Stage 2 and Stage 3 child care, which is for post-age services. Contracting with them allows for a seamless transition for our customers from Stage 1 to Stage 2 and 3. They are embedded with us in our offices as well. While the number of folks on CalWorks has gone down over the last few years, most of those that remain are folks with younger children, and that is a more expensive child care because of the age of the children. Under the contract, an average of 240 children will receive child care services per month. Fiscally, there is no county funds involved. This is all state and federal funds. I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience or in Tahoe wish to address this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back for action. It's moved and seconded to approve item D, child care services for CalWorks Welfare to Work participants. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, thank you. The item is moved. We'll now move to item E, paid work experience and paid internship placement services for CalWorks Welfare to Work participants. Mr. Kaiser.
So I'm here to request that the board approve a contract with the the Community College Foundation for CalWorks Welfare to Work paid work experience and paid internship placements for the period of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, in the amount of $617,934, and authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign the contract and subsequent amendments up to 10% of the contract amount, consistent with the agreement subject matter and scope of work with risk management and county council concurrence. The background, the paid work experience program allows us to place CalWorks participants at work sites. Primarily, they are with our community-based organizations, nonprofits, also with Placer County offices and some small businesses. The paid work experience program is one of our best programs. It has allowed us to place folks in order to get the experience and confidence that job seekers need in order to obtain unsubsidized employment. One example of the success of our program is our VITA program, which is our voluntary income tax assistance program. This past year, we, with the assistance of paid work experience participants, we were able to assist tax filers in obtaining over $500,000 in tax returns. So I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from board members? Supervisor Euler.
Not a question, just a comment. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Is there anyone in the audience or in Tahoe that wishes to address this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for action. It's been moved and seconded to approve paid work experience and paid internship placement services for CalWorks Welfare to Work participants. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Thank you. The item is moved.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item F, Medi-Cal Administrative Activities, California Department of Health Care Services, Dr. Rob Oldham. Morning.
Right. Good morning, Chairman Holmes and members of the board. Rob Oldham, your health officer and director of public health. I'm here this morning to request approval of an agreement with the California Department of Health Care Services for Medi-Cal administrative activities in the amount of $9 million for the term July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, and authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to sign subsequent amendments consistent with the agreement subject matter and scope of work with risk management and county council concurrence. So for background, the County Medi-Cal Administrative Activities, or CMA program, allows local government entities participating in the program to receive federal reimbursement for the cost of certain administrative activities that benefit Medi-Cal enrollees or individuals who are eligible for Medi-Cal. Through the CMA program, individual county agencies promote access to health care for clients in the county public health system, minimize healthcare costs and long-term healthcare needs for at-risk populations, and coordinate client health needs with other healthcare providers. CMA activities include, but are not limited to, conducting Medi-Cal outreach, facilitating Medi-Cal eligibility determinations, Medi-Cal program planning, and Medi-Cal contract administration. Reimbursements are based on certified public expenditures for CMA activities as disclosed in a quarterly invoice. The CMA agreement before your board identifies up to $9 million of potential reimbursement funding available to Placer County Health and Human Services for fiscal years 2017 through 2020. Due to the claiming process, there will not be any county general fund revenue impact for fiscal year 2017 through 18. And revenues will be budgeted beginning in fiscal year 2018-2019. So the MA program, or CMA program, I have some experience with in other counties, and we're piloting it in certain programs right now, including in public health that are primarily funded or exclusively funded through 1991 realignment dollars. So in general, what we're hoping to do is find existing activities that we're using these discretionary revenues for, and to get use the federal funds in order to draw to pay for a portion of those activities, freeing up the discretionary revenues potentially for other activities. With that, I will conclude, but appreciate any comments from the board.
Supervisor Duran.
Yeah, how does the change and the potential change with the ACA, does that have any effect on this at all?
So potentially some effect. So this is a program for primarily for Medi-Cal enrollees or those who are eligible for Medi-Cal. So the activities pretty much will remain the same under any reform that I can envision. If the eligibility changes, then basically the way claims work, you get paid, you deliver activities for a large population of people, and then whatever your percentage of people enrolled in Medi-Cal, you get to claim that percentage. So, because if you're doing something, for instance, that benefits everyone in Placer County, but only the Medi-Cal enrollees you're able to claim for. So it's based on a percentage. So that would be one. I can't envision all the ways that it might affect it, but that would be one.
I guess the point I'm trying to get at is that, or is there any risk in not getting reimbursement? That's really what I'm driving at.
Is there any risk in not getting reimbursement if there are changes?
Yes.
Potentially, yes. So, however, right now we're not submitting any claims under CMAW. So, as long as we have Medi-Cal beneficiaries, we'll be able to generate some claims that are above what we've currently been doing.
And I suppose you can't put a dollar figure on that $9 million as to what would be at risk.
No, in fact, the $9 million is kind of an estimate. So this is, for public health, we're starting very small, but that's an estimate if we expand it throughout the county. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. You've answered my questions.
Any other comments from board members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience or in Tahoe wish to address this item? None, I'll bring it back for action. It's been moved and seconded to approve item F, Medi-Cal Administrative Activities, California Department of Healthcare Services. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the item is moved. Thank you.
Sure.
I think we'll squeeze in Mr. LaPlante. Are you ready to come forward? I think we got just a few minutes. Sorry, Brett, I know you're going to have a long presentation, so. You bet. This is an item regarding Public Works and Facilities, Parking and Landscape Improvements, Kings Beach Commercial Core Project, West End Parking Lot. All right.
Good morning, Chairman, honorable members of the board. I'm Dan LaPlante, Associate Engineer with the Department of Public Works and Facilities, Tahoe Design Division. I'm also project manager for the Kings Beach Commercial Core Project for the last few years. The item in front of you today is a contract award and contract approval. We're asking your consideration for contract number 000963 to Q&D Construction of Reno, Nevada for the construction of the Kings Beach parking and landscaping improvement plans. One would think that by this time that after 3 construction seasons, we might be completed with the project, but we're still got one final season to finish up the last things that we've got out there to do. The main construction item is a public parking facility, 29 parking spaces. It does bring our count for the project to 6 public parking lots within the Kings Beach community. The total replacement number we were looking for the project was 220 places, and we're currently, after this construction, will be at 260. So we're well over our mark of what we were looking for. The item the contract also includes some miscellaneous items other than the parking lot, some plantings that were not done last year. The planting pockets were put in, but got late in the season, so we opted not to put plants in the ground late in the season. Those will go in here shortly. We've got some railings that are going to be added along some key areas. We've got some bollard replacement and also some fence replacement to do. So at this point, that's the extent of the construction contract, and Peter and I are available here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience here or in Tahoe wish to address this item? Yeah. Oh, it must be Ellie Waller. Hello, Ellie.
Good morning, Supervisor Holmes and board. With the project coming to an end at the Kings Beach Core, the one thing that wasn't assessed and is a necessity with all these parking lots is there's not enough public restrooms. The burden is being put on some of the businesses, and they're being very friendly, but I think we need to have staff look at in a future agenda item on providing public restrooms, what that cost might be, and how that gets handled with the completion of this Kings Beach Core project. Thank you.
Thank you, and staff is writing down your comments. Alrighty, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll bring it back for approval. It's been moved and seconded to approve item B, parking and landscape improvements, King Beach Commercial Core Project. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? Hearing none, thank you. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to our 9:45 timed item. Thank you, Stephanie, for waiting. We will move to our timed item, Public Works and Facilities, Countywide Traffic Mitigation Fees, Annual Adjustments.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. Stephanie Holloway with Public Works and Facilities. I have a number of capital improvement program fee items before you this morning, in fact, in all. We'll just work through them one at a time here. So the first item before you is a consideration request to consider the capital improvement program for the countywide fees and corresponding traffic mitigation. Your board first approved this countywide program back in April of 1996, 20 plus years ago, which allowed for annual adjustments based on the construction cost index reported in the engineering news record. As you know, our capital improvement programs provide for a future roadmap and funding structure for transportation infrastructure projects. The increases in the countywide program are based on the 20-city average in the ENR, and this is important as we work through these fee programs that they're all a little different. So this countywide program is based on the 20-city average in the ENR. So the proposed modification before you today is a 3.9% increase in our capital improvement program costs and corresponding fees. This is measured in the EIR from April of 2016 to April of 2017, and we're asking that it be applied to 9 of our 11 fee districts. The Granite Bay District, as you considered previously, has been amended already, and the Tahoe Region District is one of our 4 items before you. So if approved, these countywide fee increases would go into effect July 31st, 2017. And with that, we ask that you conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution to increase 9 of the 11 capital improvement program and corresponding fees, excepting Granite Bay and Tahoe, obviously, to reflect a 3.9% increase. With that, I can answer any questions.
All right, any questions from board members? Seeing none, anyone from the audience or from, pardon? Oh, yeah, this is a public hearing, thank you. Open the public hearing. Anyone from the audience or in Tahoe wish to address this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for action.
Second.
It's been moved. Did we just do all 4 of them? No, just the first one, okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the countywide traffic mitigation fee annual adjustment. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll move on to item B.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie Holloway again. Your second request is that you consider an increase in the Placer County City of Roseville Joint Traffic Mitigation Fee Program. This program was established in 2004 between the City of Roseville and Placer to fund specific improvements to Baseline Road, Fittement Road, and the Willarga Road Bridge. The increases for this program are based on the 20-city average and the San Francisco Construction Cost Index. So those two get averaged together and are based on a May to May time period. This results in an increased proposal of 2.37%. Again, if approved, effective July 31st, 2017. With that, we ask that you conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution to increase the Placer County City of Roseville Joint Capital Improvement Program costs and traffic mitigation fees to reflect a 2.37% increase.
Supervisor Duran.
Yeah, Ken, do we have a date for the start of the Willarga Bridge replacement?
We do not have one today. It is in the Highway Bridge Program, so it is substantially funded through federal funds. They have a process we go through. Could start as early as 2018. I feel pretty confident, though, by 2019 that it will be under construction.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, seeing no more comments, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wish to address the audience here, address the board from the audience here or in Tahoe? Seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back for action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item B, Placer County City of Roseville Joint Traffic Fee Program Annual Adjustment. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll move to item C.
Okay, so your third request is that we ask that you consider an increase in the county's portion of the Tier 2 Development Fee Program. This program was established in 2009 between Placer County and the cities of Roseville, Rockland, Lincoln, and the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority to fund specifically infrastructure improvements to Highway 8965 interchange as well as Placer Parkway. Again, this program is based on the 20-city average in San Francisco construction cost index, resulted out of the ENR from April to April. With that, we have a proposal for 2.45% increase in this capital improvement program and fees, if approved, effective again July 31st of 2017. With that, we ask that you conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution to increase the county's portion of the Tier 2 Development Fee Program to reflect 2.45% increase in that program.
Alrighty, any questions from the board before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience or anyone from the tower wish to address the board on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. It's been moved and seconded to approve Public Works and Facilities Tier 2 Development Fee Annual Adjustment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we'll move to item D.
Thank you. So your last item request this morning includes a consideration for a comprehensive update to the infrastructure projects and costs included in the Tahoe Region Capital Improvement Program. As you know, the Tahoe Basin Area Plan was adopted in January of this year. The plan included changes to future desired infrastructure for transportation with a focus in multimodal and transit systems. The Tahoe Region Capital Improvement Program provides a future roadmap for funding and identified transportation infrastructure needs, and therefore was in need of an update with the plan's adoption. The Tahoe Region Capital Improvement Program covers the Tahoe Basin, Squaw Valley, Alpine Meadows, Martis Valley, and other general plan areas of eastern Placer County. The CIP was last updated in 2016 to reflect the construction cost indexes from that year. A nexus analysis has been prepared and is provided in your packet, was completed in May of 2017, and provides a reasonable relationship between new development and the need for additional capacity. The updated capital improvement program identifies roughly $25 million in future improvement costs, with a remaining dwelling unit count of 4,630, resulting in a fee per DUE, dwelling unit equivalent, of $5,440 per DUE, up from the current cost of $4,936 per DUE. That's a 9.1% increase in the current traffic mitigation fees. So again, if approved, the fee would become effective July 31st of 2017. So in conclusion, the proposed action provides future transportation improvements within the Tahoe region that meets the goals and policies established by the applicable community plans and general plans. With that, we ask that you conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution to modify the capital improvement program to reflect a comprehensive update, and approve a nexus analysis for the Tahoe Region Capital Improvement Program and Traffic Mitigation Fee District.
Alrighty, any questions from the board before I open up the public hearing? Supervisor Durant.
Yeah, I had one question. I noticed that this is 9% plus, and the other ones seem to be relatively around, below 5%. Why the different swing?
So the big change is in the list of projects and the costs associated with it. So with the comprehensive update, we take a look at the whole CIP. Are there applicable projects still? Are they in need of increase? And what we found with the area plan is there was a shift in basically some of the projects that were needed. Some multimodal improvements were added. So it's more of a comprehensive update to that, as opposed to the CCI.
Seeing no more questions from the board, this is a public hearing. I open up the public hearing. Anybody from the Auburn area or the Tahoe area wish to address the board on this item? Please come forward, state your name.
Good morning, Chair Holmes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Pat Davison. I'm with the Contractors Association of Truckee Tahoe. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on the traffic mitigation fees. First off, I want to thank Peter Kratz. He called me on Monday and gave me some information about this meeting and then actually came to my office Tuesday morning to explain what was going on. I provided a list of questions to Peter to request more information on the projects and most importantly, how the increased costs relate to the Tahoe Basin Area Plan. I also asked where the total DUEs came from and where the remaining DUEs are located, where the remaining growth area is. Our review as an association always looks at whether these fees are being used for existing deficiencies, which could be described as those projects that would need to happen even if no new growth were to occur. We like to review the details and understand the basis of the fee. And I've not received that requested information, so feel somewhat unprepared to comment today. So here's what we'd like to present to you in the way of a formal request. We have no problem with the 3.9% construction cost index increase. That makes sense and is logical. We are requesting a delay of the 5.2% increase pending Peter's visit to our local Government Affairs Committee meeting, which is scheduled for June 19th. That will give an opportunity for more information sharing with our committee. And then my third request is respectfully requesting that these fees be converted to a per square foot basis as we talk about incentivizing smaller homes and second units, that a per square foot basis is more attractive and makes sense. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Any questions from board members for Ms. Davidson? Seeing none, no, I'll look to
Thank
Peter for some comments, or Stephanie.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. We have been working through Pat's email and her request the last couple of days. As far as the DUEs, I can kind of walk you through that. The last time we did a comprehensive update in Tahoe was in 2013. I'm sorry, the last time we did a new project was in 2013. We added the Fanny Bridge project as a funding source at that time. Additionally, at that time, we knew that there were units in the Martis Valley that were not going to be realized as they originally had been planned through the Martis Valley Community Plan. So adjustments to DUEs were made back then in 2013 with that proposed amendment. Since that time, and with this project, we've gone through the building records, the assessment records, to try to identify how many units have been developed from that point forward, and we've done an adjustment based on that. So not a lot of units from 2013 forward. So that was our process for updating the DUEs.
Right. Any comments?
Yeah, just want to make sure I understood if I could, Mr. Chair. So the real drivers that Jack referred to and the difference here with the percentage increases are the Fanny Bridge cost addition and the decreasing DUEs, mostly from Martis Valley, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so that was actually true back in the 2013 update. We added Fanny Bridge at that time. We took out the Martis Valley DUEs. The main change in this CIP is, like I said, an addition of sort of these multimodal projects, some increase in more real costs that we have realized over the last couple of years. So more of a change to that multimodal transit system's capacity.
And then have you done any analysis, and I'm specifically thinking also as it relates to workforce housing transition between a basis being a DUE versus a square footage type of thought process?
Yeah, no, I don't think we've gone into that realm. We're strictly, with DUEs.
Thanks.
Huh?
I'll just add in that Peter Kratz, Public Works and Facilities, that Pat raised that question just now, and she raised it to me last week, and I haven't had a chance to really dive in deep. It is something it's a big issue up in Tahoe, and whether we should go there at some point, that's a possibility. The other thing that Pat just raised on existing deficiencies, it's my understanding with this update, we have a column in our CIP list on existing deficiencies, and just to answer Pat's question there, the fee program isn't addressing any existing deficiencies.
So I just, go ahead, go ahead, sorry.
So just a brief comment off the top of my head, reaction that obviously there should be a strong correlation between the square footage of a particular facility and the occupancy of it, but that's not always the case, I would presume, particularly with changes in lifestyle. So have there been any analysis at all in how that actually would change if we were to shift from one philosophical approach to another?
Yeah, we really haven't had too much of that workforce housing discussion. You know, the rates that we use consistently across the industry are out of the ITE manual, Institute of Transportation Engineers, as far as trip generation. So theoretically, you're capturing with all the data that's reported in that document, you're capturing some of that industry or the demographic shift.
Thanks.
I would just add that I think Ms. Davison raises a provocative question, and certainly something that could be looked at through the work of our housing council. It was recently formed in the Truckee, North Tahoe area. I know they're going to be looking at the total cost of housing and whether there are ways to reduce that, whether changes in fee structures. This would be a logical component of that work.
Supervisor Duran, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on those two comments. Setting aside for a second the audit issue that we're wrestling with up in Tahoe, I do think that it's really important that we continue to focus on the workforce housing issue, as well as finding different alternatives to building workforce housing. And I think that should be one of the biggest priorities that we have up in Tahoe, is to be able to take a look at the plans that the North Lake Tahoe Association has in their governing document, and juxtapose those against what are the different types of funding sources that are out there and available to address that particular issue. And I think that's something that we really need to move to the forefront. The audit issue, I think, is something we can resolve very quickly, but the primacy of what they're doing, and opposed to getting other people up there, I mean, it's all kind of works together. The approval of projects, and now we've got to work with that piece. So.
Any other questions? Peter, Ken, were you going to say anything? Or?
I think we
okay.
have more public comment.
Any more public comment in Tahoe, or?
Yes, good morning again. Ellie Waller, Tahoe Vista resident. I respectfully request that you do not approve this today, and have some of the questions that Ms. Davison has asked, and also provide some more specificity in the charts that show the projects, stating intersection improvements. Doesn't tell the public what that is. We are aware that there will be a 267 Highway 28 proposal coming out, we think, this summer for a roundabout. I think the public should be made aware with more specificity, not just improvements. Additionally, the funding sources, where it says other, what does other mean? I would ask that this be delayed so Supervisor Montgomery can also weigh in. I know you have an upcoming Tahoe segmented meeting, so this could be agendized for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or is public?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Shannon Eckmeyer, League to Save Lake Tahoe. Thank you for having the opportunity for us to teleconference in. This is super cool, my first time. But we stand in front of you today to ask that you support staff recommendation in moving forward with this increase to fees. Our support is twofold. One, as you heard from staff today, there is a deficit in being able to implement CIP projects within the area plan, which you approved earlier this year. Secondly, we're doing our due diligence. We reviewed the TRPA's regional transportation plan, the Tahoe Transportation's district transit master plan update, along with your TART update plan that you approved last year, and have been compiling our own list of deficiencies in funding within the Lake Tahoe region. We need this because we've been asked by people when we're lobbying in both Sacramento and Carson City, where are their funding gaps? There's also going to be a bi-state negotiation process put together later this year by the governors of both states, which we will be part of. And that is going to look at funding opportunities and how the states can both commit. If Placer County takes a leadership position and shows what they're doing their part as a local jurisdiction in improving these types of mitigation fee increases, we'll not only be able to ask other local jurisdictions to do the same, but it'll make our argument stronger in getting the states to commit more funding to transit solutions in the region. I understand the concerns the audience members have today. We do ask that you support it today. If you do delay until Supervisor Montgomery is present, we ask that you still move forward with approving it as soon as possible, as that negotiation team will likely be formed within the fall time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Good morning, Ann Nichols, North Tahoe Preservation Alliance. Okay, to further the transparency of this, I felt that the packet was really deficient. My main concern is the widening of 267 from Truckee to the top of Brockway to 4 lanes. This is a really contentious issue with the public here, with our residents, with everybody. As you well know, the bridge over the Truckee River is 2-lane. Then if you go to 4-lane, you make that the parking lot up to the summit, and then it transitions to 2-lane again and goes to 2-lane on 28. This seems like a foolhardy way to manage congestion. And another concern we have with this proposal is that it supports widening roads, but it doesn't talk about how that affects vehicle miles traveled in the Tahoe Basin. And I thought, how do these things reduce congestion and vehicle miles traveled? That's the real issue, and widening roads as a goal in this document is completely the antithesis of that. So I really feel that you need to analyze the environmental issues with some of these projects, such as the widening of Highway 267. Once it goes into your document, then it becomes, a definite deal. We need public meetings on this. We need, really, that should be removed. There's not enough information today on how you arrived at these units, the 4,630 units. We need to be able to see that. Where did you come up with those numbers? And then the analysis of widening 267. What are the project priorities for this money? Which projects come first, or do we have to wait till the end to come up with various important projects? And what is the, of course, expected completion? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address please come forward.
Good morning. Eugene Wilson on behalf of the California Clean Energy Committee. I support the comments that Ann Nichols made, and I believe that you are adopting a program that will result in potentially significant environmental impacts, and that your decision needs to be reviewed under the California Environmental Quality Act. And I have correspondence here I'd like to submit to the board clerk.
Please
Thank you.
give it to the clerk. Thank you, sir. Any other comments before the board before I close the public hearing? Already, I'm going to close the public hearing. I have a question regarding Ms. Davidson's request. If the board chooses to grant her request to postpone this until Peter and others can meet with their board of directors, what does that do? Does that hold us up? Would that give enough time to bring it back before the end of the fiscal year? Or
Chairman, yes, it would. I would denote that if you took action today, that wouldn't take effect until, like the others and this one today, till July 31st for the increase in fees. So the concern I have in waiting over time is that a potential, the increase goes up if we wait too much longer. But certainly we could make it happen at a later board meeting this year and still be okay.
I mean, I'm looking at the next board meeting, which would be, when, June 23rd? Is that it?
I think there's that opportunity, and there's the opportunity to meet with the CAT board before then,
Okay.
and then, again, address some of these comments
All right.
as well.
Well, June 13th would be, June 13th would be the next board meeting. Would that give you time? Or would be the? Or the 27th?
To be respectful of the CAT board meeting, I think it's on June 19th.
Oh, okay.
Their
So
board meeting.
June 27th would come back.
Correct.
Okay. Supervisor Wygant.
And the June 27th is adequate? You could implement that and still implement the July 31st,
I believe so, but I'm going to let Stephanie, I'm
Yeah.
going to defer that question to Stephanie.
So that would push us out until August, I believe. I think it's a 60-day implementation, so that would push us into August.
Yes.
All that would be at risk then would be any permits or any activity just during
Yeah.
that 2-week
The
window.
differential, yeah, of any permits pulled between that period.
Yeah, I don't anticipate a significant rush all of a sudden in that time period.
Under the circumstances, there might be.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Let's spur it on then.
So another question, so the capital improvements program that was talked, the major modification that you talked about to the program was Fanny Bridge, right?
No, the Fanny Bridge project is currently in there.
I know, but there was reference made to these things sort of coming out of the blue, if you will, and not having been vetted or communicated to the public. The capital improvements program essentially has been around for a long time with modifications as we go forward, like the Fanny Bridge project, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Ken.
Ken.
Maybe I can speak just a moment to that. Really what the change are, and really what the capital improvement program is a response to the approval of the area plan. And it's really just trying to take what was approved in the area plan, put it in something that we can now show how we're going to finance that over time. In this area plan, the really big change, and what led to some changes that you'll see on items in the CIP, is going to this multimodal, transit-oriented types of things. That is what TRPA is driving for. As Ms. Nichols mentioned, less roads, although there are some roads in there, right. But less roads, more transit, so you'll see some more transit items related in that CIP. I think one of the items might even be providing some sort of transit-only kind of bypass lane along 89. Those are the big changes driving up cost. Then what we talked about, driving down the number of units, it's a divide the total cost by the number of units. What's driving that are things from the past of Wattle Ranch, just less units going to be built than we originally anticipated. Between those two, including a little bit of cost of living adjustment, is what led to the 9.1%. But bottom line is, I think we can wait till June. There is some modest risk, but a month is not a big deal. I think we have some more discussions, and we'll come back to your board at the end of June.
And then I'm presuming, I was getting to that, I'm assuming that strategically, our levels of services, the level of traffic, et cetera, all of that is still intertwined with this capital improvements program that does get modified as we learn more and as things change, and none of that that approach is differed with this fee recommendation, correct?
Correct. It is still a living document that changes over time.
And can I just add too on Ann Nichols' comment too on SR 267? She's correct. It is a contentious issue. The idea that we have shifted up in Tahoe, I think it's been that way for a long time. We're not in the road widening business in the Tahoe region. We are, and again, this CIP reflects, this updated CIP reflects what Ken just mentioned. SR 267, as Stephanie reminded me of, it is linked to the Martis Valley Community Plan as a 4-lane project. But I would say personally, and being up there for a long time, we need to be, and as I think we do in this department, we're innovative in looking at different solutions, whether it's a 3rd lane for transit in the future on 267 with roundabouts at those signalized intersections. That's why we have flexibility in our CIP list, we don't get super specific because I think innovation and transit, we need to be flexible on what projects we come up with to best move people around in the region.
And then lastly, that's kind of where I wanted to finish. That would be similar to the way we reviewed and adopted the plans for the Kings Beach Downtown Improvements Program, correct?
Correct, yes.
And at that time, any and all environmental review that staff figured would be necessary would be done concurrent with any projects that the board decided to carry forward.
Correct. So when Ann says, more dialogue, obviously, if something came along on 267 in the future, there would be a whole environmental review process, just like the Kings Beach project. Correct.
Good. Any more questions? So does the board have a willingness to, what do we do, postpone the public hearing or continue the public hearing until a time certain?
Yeah, I don't have a problem holding off 30 days to do whatever diligence we need to do. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, I see some nodding heads, so we'll just continue the public hearing and bring it back at the end, at the last meeting in June. Does that work? June 27th?
Do you have a time?
Time?
Or do you want to renotice?
We'll go ahead and renotice.
Oh,
Keep it
okay.
simple.
All right, okay, good.
We'll give it a time.
All righty. Fine. I don't think we have to take action on that. I think we got board direction. Okay. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Peter, appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you all that commented on this. Now we'll move to item 7, the Public Works and Facilities Middle Fork Project Joint Powers Authority 2016 Summary of Operations. Brett Story.
Great, thank you. Honorable Chairman and board members, Brett Story, Public Works and Facilities. Here to present your annual view of the Middle Fork project. As you know, Supervisors Wygant and Holmes serve on the Public Financing Authority, the Middle Fork Project Financing Authority, and David Bosch serves as a secretary to that board. Hopefully I have a little more upbeat information than I have in the last few years. We finally have water, which is always good. A little bit about the operating year. Again, third full year of PCWA scheduling, optimizing for both water and power, doing a very good job. There's been no issues with PG&E, the coordinated operations there. That's actually, in fact, it was quoted the other day as a PG&E employee said, "You guys, we still work for you?" I mean, it's so smooth now that there are no issues. System availability of the project was very high. There was some minimal unplanned outages as well as the October planned outage. All of the invoicing and payments from PG&E went smoothly. There were no disputes with the Cal ISO, so all of that was handled appropriately. We just concluded the audit, which is why I'm bringing you this information. And again, 2016 is what we're talking about. The hydrology of that year was 103%, which is considered a normal year, a wet year, a little bit wet. The prices, the energy prices rebounded a little bit from 2015 lows due to the natural gas demand increasing around the country and production decreasing around the country. So that's, as I've always talked about, it's directly linked to the natural gas of the United States. The power team from PCWA was able to offer dispatch flexibility to the market, increasing the power sales of what we would normally get by about 7% in revenue, so that's always a positive thing. We did adjust the budget at mid-year. As you know, when we go into the fall, it's an 80% of average budget, and then at the mid-year we adjust it, so it was adjusted upwards. We knew that we'd get a little more revenue, and we had some expenditures that we would really wanted to accomplish, so it went up by a few million. Note that this year's we haven't done the budget yet. It'll be coming in the fall, but we anticipate that the revenues should be around $55 million. There are a number of backlog projects that we're trying to work through to see if, up that high, there's only so many things that can be done during the year. So the outlook is good for this year, as you know. We'll go into that a little bit, as wet as it was. And then just a summary, the gross revenue was higher than forecast by 10%, and the expenditures were lower by 22%. Part of that has to do with some changes that were made that moved some of the work activities to non-employees, but to specialty, which I'll talk about in a minute, a specialty item that really saves the project quite a bit of money by doing it that way. We were able to put a little over $11 million into the reserve funding, which I'll talk about right here. The reserve accounts, the operating reserve is now fully funded at $25,750. The emergency reserve is fully funded at $2 million, and the capital reserve is partially funding at right around $9 million with a target of $20 million. So we're getting close to that point where there would be proceeds from the project. And just as a reminder on that, by the Middle Fork policy, all three reserves must be fully funded before net revenues can be distributed. Once the reserves are met, then that board can choose to release funds for distribution under the formula where 50% goes as debt prepayment back to the loan that's owed, 25% of that will go to Placer County, and another 25% for Placer County Water Agency. And as you well know, you approved a policy on how to spend the funds that would come to the county. Reserve contributions were higher than expected, again, due to those operating expenses, under budget, increased revenue, and the rebound in the power market. And all the capital expenditures were met by direct appropriations in 2016, and we anticipate those the same. In other words, we don't anticipate touching the reserve. A little bit about the going forward projections. As you all know, all of your decks need refinishing, all your gutters need replacing because of the very wet year. 2005% of average, the wettest year on record, a year where we had emergency flooding and emergency drought all in the same time frame. Some of that's still going on in the state, by the way. There's still, in fact, Peter tells me the Truckee River is still flowing pretty high because of all of the snow melt. Reservoirs, our own reservoirs started spilling in January and on and off. They could be spilling until July. That's how much water is there. The team is producing power at every possible moment they can. There are some reasons why that we can't. Sometimes the price actually goes negative, where you'd have to pay the ISO to produce water and produce energy. In those cases, it does spill over the dam. Actually through the spillway, excuse me. The good news for that, there'll be 7 days a week rafting should people choose to do that. It is very cold water. It is very high water, and hopefully we won't see any danger in that, but it will be available. The energy market prices, the belief is that they should remain steady. There are still negative market prices. Some of that is because there is so much hydro production. Some of that is because of the growth in the renewable energy part of the business, which alters the mix within the ISO. But the Middle Fork is well positioned to offset any of those negative prices because of the flexible resources that we have there. The revenue side, precipitation is substantially higher, as you all know, than even our budget forecasts, and our energy prices are good. So the net effect, we expect those revenues to come in 20 to 25% higher than our typical forecast, and that's already included in that $55 million expected. A little bit of the downside, this is what I call the price tag of too much water. What you see there is a picture of dredging operations that are going on within the system. And if you've seen any of the things from the Oroville site, theirs is much larger and many more cranes and trucks operating, but we essentially have the same problem. The aftermath of the King Fire brought lots of sediment, lots of logs. In fact, if you've noticed, I'm sure, Kurt, while you're out running around Folsom Lake, all of those logs and material that's down in Folsom Lake, a lot of that flew through our operations. Luckily, there wasn't too much damage as a lot of it flew through there. There's still quite a bit that had to be cleaned up. Awful lot of soil. We project a cost of around $5 million of dredging to clean the operations back to a normal process. And as I think I told you last year, we knew this would happen. It just all came in 1 year. And so part of the reason why we couldn't operate and develop energy was that material in the river. There's also high water at times when that material and or the high water backs up to the power operations. You have to shut the engines down. You cannot operate. It will actually do damage to them, so the water then just flows by. There was also some PG&E transmission lines that went down for quite some time with all of the winter weather. And there was a projected loss. Again, this is potential revenue of about $5 million. So you see these type of operations are highly volatile. Good news is we did make quite a bit of money. The bad news is we possibly could have made more and we wouldn't have had to spend as much, but that's what you get with this kind of year. A little bit about the project as an update on the risk reduction side. All of the North American Electric Reliability Corporation and the Western Electric Coordinating Council, which are the regulations that the power operations must go by, and that's both federal and state. All of the procedures, process, and software is all enacted, and it's all operating at high levels. PCWA has very high marks from those organizations, and has becoming thought of as being ahead of what's coming in the future. So that's good for our project. Always want to stay ahead of the regulators. The control operations with Northern California Power Agency, this is one of those items where we were able to save about $1 million a year by contracting that out. They've been set up and tested. All of the project personnel are integrated, and on hour 1 in 2018, they will take over those operations of what PG&E used to do, working with the PCWA power staff, and so that's all in place and ready to go. The PCWA went out with a new insurance risk provider to ensure the lowest risk and the cost solutions of the projects. And an example of this new provider is that they are willing to insure the tunnels, whereas one of the contractors in the past was not. So what we're looking for is more insurance, also a better business interruption insurance, and they believe that all of those elements are coming back. They're doing a full risk assessment of the project this year, so we hope to see a much greater utilization of funds on the project and to insure the project. On the infrastructure side, we're, again, always preparing all of the proposed project improvements. On the new license conditions, those take time, working with the Forest Service and other government agencies, getting the right permits, et cetera, all the right design. That's all going forward. There were upgraded systems at multiple powerhouses, which again is the case for this nearly or around 60-year-old project. Always needs to be upgraded, but we're getting to the point in a couple of years where we will have upgraded all of the major operations, so it should be healthy for several more decades. And again, always software. There was a new communication system for the upcountry, and they're going to take down now the tin cans and the string, which is essentially what happens in a whiteout. You lose communications, and so now it will be a muchly needed upgraded system that will actually be built starting this year. On the relicensing project, again, singing the same song. The CEQA and NEPA was all finalized in 2012. FERC approved everything we did. It's been at the state waiting approval since then. They continue to have emergencies through no fault of their own, I will say, which at the Department of Water Resources generally grabs all staff, and all staff work on all emergencies. So the people that do this check for us have said they're working their way through it. It is at a management level, and the anticipation that is during this year of 2000, what are we in, 17?
Yeah.
That it could be done by the end of the year if Oroville goes well, and that would mean it would take several months through 18, possibly the whole year before we'd actually get the license. But I'll remind your board that our license gets renewed annually. It's under the old conditions. Again, the old conditions are still very good for the river. They're just the new ones are a little different to accommodate some of the new regulations that have come forward. We are able to accommodate nearly every one of those on a requested basis. This year will be different. Robert, you may get some calls from fishermen. There will be high flows. There were high flows in January. They're going to be high flows all the way to the end of the summer or later.
I'm available to guide.
You heard that here. So again, we have to flow the water. On the energy side, the current contract with PG&E ends this December 31st. There are a variety of ways, as I've discussed in the past. You can sell power itself on the market. There is the capacity market. There are the renewable energy credits, which are typically bundled with the power. There are different financial positions in the forward sales possibility, and there's potentially carbon credits. That market is not quite as strong as we thought, but eventually it could get there. And the teams right now is working on a series of negotiations to sell all of those items, and it is anticipated that the selection of all those vendors and the execution of all those contracts will be completed. For the Middle Fork Finance Authority board members, we're shooting to bring some of those, if not all, by the July meeting, but we may need a special meeting in August or September. The idea is we need to get all of those contracts in place and ready to go well before the end of the year, but we don't anticipate any issues with those. All of the people we're dealing with are very creditworthy and have done this work with other entities, so we don't anticipate any issues with that. A little bit on the volatility, just as a reminder, that chart is the water from early 1900 to today. You see how varied it is. The power market looks something like that as well, but the low is about 209 megawatts, the average is about 1 million, and the high is 1.8. Last year in 2016, we did right around the average. We did a little over 1 million. This year's anticipation is 1.5 million. So you see where the revenues are going to come from with that. I just want to show you a couple pictures from the winter. That is L.L. Anderson Dam spillway. As you can see, the water is flowing. The snow is there, but it's working as proposed. As you recall, several years ago, we were required to widen that spillway, and from the looks of it, that was potentially a good idea. And then you see, that's near Robinson Flat on the way up there. That wasn't too long ago. That was maybe a month ago. And PCWA was required to actually, you see how high that snow is, hire someone because they had to get in for some operations. It wasn't open to the public at that time. There is some road damage up there for those of you who want to go up to the Middle Fork project. We're not even sure of all the road damage yet. There's still snow covering several areas. There are several slides up there of tree and rock. The Forest Service is the lead on those efforts. PCWA is supporting them and potentially advancing funding for those and potentially getting it back through the emergency that was just signed off by the governor a little while back for storms. All that's playing itself out. There will be access to the project. There just may not be access on all roads. So as you hear from constituents, they may be faced with having to take a longer road and take more time to get up there. But we do anticipate that a majority of all projects that are required to be accomplished up there there'll be the ability to get those done, and there will be the ability for recreational people to go up there. There are some up there now. As you saw, there was a hiker, not in our area, but it was a hiker who was rescued just yesterday. With that, I will answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions from board members? Seeing none. A week ago Saturday, I happened to be up on Mosquito Ridge Road, and the amount of trucks coming in and out, this was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they must be pulling out the dredging and hauling it out. Is that what that is?
I couldn't tell you exactly about which truck. I mean, there's lots of trucks that go through there. I think they're still assessing it, is what I recall. I'm not sure they're actually moving those slides yet.
Oh. Well, there was a lot of trucks,
right,
with
right.
not logging trucks, but
right, yeah. Right. But it could be slides from other places as well.
All right.
Forest Service has a process to follow and
understand
move
that.
through. Those could have been our operations of PCWA taking on any of our Middle Fork project roads as well.
All right, good. Any other questions from board members? Anyone in the audience wish to address the board on this item? Thank you for your very complete presentation. We appreciate it. Alrighty, I think that concludes our action items. I think we now go into closed session. Is that correct, Mr. Counsel?
Yes, the board will now adjourn to closed session for a conference with legal counsel to discuss 3 items of existing litigation: Ryan Bass versus County, Tovar et al. Versus County, and High Sierra Ranch Rural Alliance versus County. There's also 1 item of anticipated litigation, and the board will also have a conference with its labor negotiators regarding PPEO labor negotiations.
All right, we will return.
The board has returned from closed session. In a conference with legal counsel in Basque versus County Placer, the board heard a report and gave direction to counsel. In the case of Tovar versus County Placer, the board heard a report and gave direction to counsel. And in High Sierra Ranch Rural Alliance versus County, the board heard a report on a new case. Under anticipated litigation, the board heard a report and gave direction to counsel. The board also had a conference with its labor negotiation team regarding PPEO. The board heard a report of the status of negotiations from the team and gave direction to its labor negotiators. That concludes the closed session report.
And that concludes the business of the board on this morning. Yeah, still morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.